My name's Ryan Keller. I'm 32. I've always believed that love isn't proven through luxury or expensive gifts, but through consistency. It's in remembering how she takes her coffee, texting good morning even when life feels heavy, or leaving a note on the fridge if I know I'll be home late. That's who I've always been. But somewhere along the way, I realized that consistency means nothing to someone who only values what shines. I met Emily 5 years ago at a friend's engagement party. She was magnetic, the kind of person who could make every head turn without even trying. She had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room, even when others waited for their turn. I didn't come from wealth, but I built a steady life. I started a small software consultancy from my apartment that slowly grew into something stable. Emily liked that about me, or at least that's what she said. She used to tell her friends how much she admired my focus and simplicity. But as time passed, that admiration started to sound more like quiet disappointment. It began with small remarks. When we moved in together, she said my furniture looked too plain. When I surprised her with a weekend trip to the mountains, she sighed and asked why it wasn't somewhere more Instagram-worthy. It wasn't constant. She could still be funny, kind, and affectionate. But her little comments started leaving marks, tiny cracks in what I thought was our shared life. I ignored them, told myself I was just being sensitive. But then birthdays and holidays turned into transactions. Every thoughtful gift I gave seemed to fall short. The leather journal I got engraved with her initials because she loved writing? Cute, but a bit cheap. The hand-painted portrait I commissioned of us. Why would I want a picture that doesn't even look perfect? It started to feel like her love had a price tag that kept going up. The real shift happened on our 3rd anniversary. I'd been saving for months to buy her a diamond bracelet, something delicate and classic, the same one she'd once shown me while scrolling through her phone. She'd said, "This is the kind of thing I'd wear forever." So I bought it. $20,000. The most I'd ever spent on anything besides my home or car. Not to show off, but because I loved her. I wanted to see that look in her eyes again. The one from the early days when she used to hold me like she couldn't believe I was real. I wrapped it carefully in one of those velvet-lit boxes, cooked her favorite dinner, lemon butter salmon and garlic asparagus, dimmed the lights, played her favorite playlist. I wanted it to be one of those quiet, perfect nights. When she walked in, she didn't even look up from her phone. "Oh," she said flatly, "you cooked." Not a thank you, not even a smile. Just a passing remark. I brushed it off, poured her wine, and told her I had a surprise. When I handed her the box, she took it carefully, eyes flicking between me and the ribbon. For a moment, she froze. I thought maybe this was it, the moment that would bring us back. But then she frowned. "That's it?" she asked. I blinked. "What do you mean?" She laughed, a short, sharp sound. "It's nice, but I was expecting something real." "It is real," I said quietly. "It's a 2-carat diamond bracelet. You literally showed me this design months ago." She rolled her eyes. "Ryan, no offense, but this doesn't exactly scream luxury. It looks basic. I thought you'd surprise me with something more meaningful. Not jewelry from a mall." Something inside me went still. I had bought it from a boutique jeweler downtown, the same one she'd always admired. My heartbeat grew heavy, not in rage, but in quiet disappointment that seeps deep. I didn't yell, I didn't argue. I just nodded, took the bracelet gently from her hands, and said, "Got it." Then I packed a small bag, walked out, no door slamming, No shouting, just silence. The quiet felt clean, like taking a breath after being underwater too long. She didn't call, not that night or the next. A few short texts came through. "Where are you? Are you really doing this? You're being dramatic." I ignored them, focused on work, told myself maybe she'd realize what she'd said. But 2 weeks passed. Nothing. Then one morning, she showed up at my office. My assistant buzzed me. "Someone's here for you. Says it's urgent." She was sitting in the lobby, perfect hair, designer coat, holding a paper in her hand. A receipt. That's when I knew what was coming. She'd seen the price tag, $20,000. Her eyes looked panicked, guilty. She whispered, "Ryan, can we talk?" We stepped into the conference room. The door closed softly. We stood, me by the window, her clutching that folded receipt. "Ryan," she began softly, like she'd rehearsed it, "I think we should talk about what happened. I overreacted that night." I watched her face. Not remorse, just calculation. Someone trying to fix what they'd broken for their own comfort. "You didn't overreact," I said quietly. "You made yourself clear." She sighed. "You know, I didn't mean it like that. I just thought the bracelet was fake. You can't blame me for being disappointed." I almost laughed, but it came out hollow. "You called it mall jewelry, Emily. You threw it back at me." Her jaw tightened. "You didn't even explain. You just walked out. Who does that? Who gives a gift and then storms off when someone doesn't react the way they expect?" I stared at her. "You didn't just not react. You made me feel like what I gave and what I am isn't enough." She crossed her arms. "You're twisting this. You always do this. Make me sound ungrateful when I'm just being honest. I've told you before. I like nice things. Is that? You know that about me." There it was. That word again. Honest. As if cruelty wrapped in truth was somehow justified. "I didn't buy that bracelet to impress you," I said finally. "I bought it because I thought it would mean something to us." She exhaled dramatically. "It does mean something. It's beautiful, Ryan. I shouldn't have said what I said. Maybe we could start over." She stepped closer, brushed my arm. "Can we go home? I miss you." For a moment, my mind flickered through every version of us, laughing, cooking, decorating our first apartment. But then came the memories of her making me feel small, asking why I hadn't brought her anything after long workdays, posting "A girl deserves to be spoiled" under luxury brand tags. "I already found a new place," I said. "It's better if we stay apart." Her expression changed instantly, from soft to cold. "You're really ending this over one argument?" "This wasn't one argument," I said evenly. "It was the last one." Dot. She scoffed. "Wow, you're dramatic when you want to be." And she walked out. No tears, no goodbye, just that same flick of her hair, as if she didn't believe I'd actually leave. But that wasn't the end. 2 days later, mutual friends started messaging me, not about her, but about me. "He's having a breakdown. He couldn't handle her honesty. He's jealous because she's more successful." She was controlling the story. I didn't reply. I hoped people would see through it. But then I saw her Instagram post, her wearing the bracelet. Caption, "When you realize you threw away something real." The comments poured in. "He's lucky you gave him a chance. You deserve better." One person even messaged me privately. "She told everyone you bought a fake." I stared at that message for a long time. My hands shook, not from anger, but from that quiet pain when someone you loved turns your story into content. That night, I deleted my social media. I couldn't stand seeing her twist the truth for attention. Weeks passed. I buried myself in work. Friends asked if I was okay. I said I was, But deep down, every time my phone buzzed, I half expected it to be her. Another half apology. Then one day, she texted again. "I know you're mad, but can we talk like adults? I'm not the villain you think I am. I miss you. Don't throw everything away over pride." I didn't respond. 3 hours later, another. "You're really ignoring me after everything I did for you? Guess I was right. You never cared." Then another. "Fine, I'll come by tomorrow to drop off your stuff. Maybe you'll actually face me like a man." She showed up the next day with her mother. Linda had always been polite in that distant, judgmental way. From the start, I knew she saw me as temporary, Emily phase before someone better. I stayed calm, let them in, gestured toward a few boxes already packed with Emily's things. "There you go." Linda looked around, nose slightly wrinkled. "It's smaller than I expected," she said. I ignored it. "Clothes, shoes, camera gear, everything's there," I said. Emily sighed. "You didn't have to go through all this trouble." "I didn't," I said. "I just wanted it done." That hit her. I could tell. She looked to her mother. Linda stepped forward with that patronizing tone. "Ryan, relationships take work. You can't just run away whenever something hurts." "Emily didn't mean to upset you." I smiled faintly. "She didn't just hurt me, Mrs. Hale. She disrespected me. That's different." Linda tilted her head. "Oh, come now. Don't be so sensitive. You're a man. You can handle a little attitude. Emily just enjoys the finer things in life. Nothing wrong with that." There it was again, that same entitlement in both their voices. "I gave her plenty," I said quietly. Her mother smiled. "Apparently not enough." I clenched my jaw, but stayed composed. "If she wants more, that's fine. She just won't find it with me." Linda's smile faded. Emily stepped forward, voice trembling just enough to sound rehearsed. "You're really done with me?" "I was done when you treated love like a receipt," I said. "And now you've brought your mom to return it." Silence filled the room. Linda's face hardened. "You'll regret this, Ryan. My daughter's a good woman. You'll never find anyone who loves you like she did." I looked at Emily, her perfect nails, clutching that same folded receipt. The same bracelet she had mocked just weeks earlier now rested between us. Something inside me shifted then. Not anger, not heartbreak. Something far colder. Clarity. "I hope not," I said softly. They left soon after, but I could already feel the storm forming on the horizon. With people like them, walking away cleanly was never an option. Over the next few days, the whispers began, quiet at first, but persistent. Clients made small comments about things they'd seen online, subtle posts, yet clear enough to cut deep. One of Emily's captions read, "Some people pretend to be generous just to look good." Another said, "Real love isn't about gifts, it's about honesty, even when the truth bruises fragile egos." And just like that, I became the villain in her carefully crafted story. What she didn't know, what she couldn't even imagine, was that she had just started something she would no longer be able to control. She thought she'd thrown away a bracelet, but what she had really discarded was the last person who had ever looked at her without a price tag attached. And soon enough, she'd learn how expensive that mistake truly was. About a week later, everything began to unravel. I was at my desk late one night, finishing a proposal for a major client, when a notification popped up on my phone. A Facebook tag from an old college friend. The caption was one of those obvious clickbait traps. Was convincing enough for anyone hungry for a scandal. I texted her once, just once. "Me, why are you posting lies about me?" No reply. An hour later, she posted an Instagram story that read, "Never argue with a narcissist. They'll only prove your point." I just sat there, staring at my phone, realizing what was happening. She wasn't just trying to hurt me. She was trying to destroy my reputation. The truth no longer mattered. The narrative did, and she was dangerously skilled at building one. By morning, mutual acquaintances had stopped following me. My business page lost a few clients, small ones, but enough to sting. One of my interns even pulled me aside and said quietly, "Hey man, you okay? I saw some stuff online." I lied. "Yeah, I'm fine," but I wasn't. Sleep became impossible. My appetite disappeared. Every time I opened my phone, there was something new, another vague quote, another thread of strangers dissecting my life like a reality show. And then it got worse, much worse. An email from one of my biggest clients popped up. "Ryan, we need to talk." My heart sank. I joined the call immediately, trying to sound calm. The client, Mark, spoke with hesitation. "Listen, Ryan, I don't want to get into your personal life, but one of my partners saw something online. Apparently, your ex posted screenshots." I froze. "Screenshots of what?" He hesitated again. "Messages between you and someone named Sarah." Sarah, my operations manager, a married woman, a mother of two. We texted daily, but always about work. "If those are what I think they are," I said quickly, "they've been edited. There's nothing inappropriate there." Mark sighed. "I figured, but the board's worried. You might want to handle this before it spreads." After we hung up, I checked Instagram, and there it was, a blurred screenshot of a chat thread, my name clearly visible. The messages looked real, same tone, same timestamps, but twisted. She had edited them. A simple work chat turned into something that sounded suggestive. That was when it clicked. This wasn't a breakup anymore. This was character assassination. I called Emily, straight to voicemail. I tried again. Nothing. So I texted her, "You've gone too far. Take the posts down before I involve a lawyer." Her reply came 10 minutes later. "Maybe next time you'll think twice before walking out on someone who loved you. Actions have consequences, Ryan." I sat there, staring at her words echoing in my head. Actions have consequences. That's what she called it. Revenge disguised as justice. The next morning, I opened my inbox to chaos. Several clients withdrew their contracts. One even cited reputation risk. My business partner, Alex, came into my office, looking uneasy. "Dude," he said, closing the door, "we need to talk about Emily." I sighed. "You too." "It's not about taking sides," he said softly. "It's about perception. People are saying serious things." "Yeah, because she made them up." "I know, but perception becomes reality fast. You need to get ahead of this before it ruins everything." The words hit me hard. My company, something I built from scratch, was now being dragged through the mud because someone decided to rewrite our history. That night, I went to Emily's apartment. I don't remember the drive, just standing in her door, shaking with anger. She opened it calmly, as if she'd been waiting. "Well," she said dryly, "didn't think you'd actually show up." "What's wrong with you?" I said quietly. "You're spreading lies. You're ruining my business, my life." She smirked. "Please, don't act like the victim. You left me humiliated, Ryan. Everyone thought you dumped me for no reason. I just told the truth." "That's not the truth," I snapped. "You faked screenshots." She crossed her arms. I froze. That smug look in her eyes told me she knew exactly what she was doing. "You don't get it," she said, voice calm but sharp. "People believe what they feel, not what's real. You made me feel worthless. Now you know what that's like." I took a deep breath. You'll regret this. Her lips curled into a faint smirk. Maybe, but you'll regret it more. I turned and walked away before I did something I'd regret. But as I reached my car, I noticed a familiar black Mercedes a few spaces down, her mother's, and there she was, sitting inside, filming me. That's when I realized it. This wasn't spontaneous. This was planned. They wanted footage of me looking angry, desperate, unstable. A clip to feed the narrative she'd already built online. I drove off, trembling with rage. Days passed. I avoided social media, ignored calls, and tried to stay invisible. My employees noticed. I could see it in their eyes. Pity mixed with doubt. Then one morning, an envelope arrived at my office. No return address, just my name. Inside was a printed article from a gossip site titled, "Local Tech Entrepreneurs Affair Scandal: What Really Happened Behind the Scenes." The article accused me of infidelity, manipulation, and gifting jewelry to multiple women while engaged. It quoted anonymous sources, all clearly her friends, describing me as controlling and cold. But what hit hardest was the final line. Sources confirm that Ryan Keller's company is under review for workplace misconduct, following multiple complaints. A total lie, yet that single sentence triggered a real investigation. HR called. The board held an emergency meeting. A lawyer friend advised me to stay quiet until it blew over. It felt like my entire life was being dismantled, piece by piece, by someone who once claimed to love me. That night, I sat alone in silence. No TV, no music. Just the faint hum of the city outside. I thought about that bracelet, how she'd laughed at it. And then I thought about the moment she came to my office holding the receipt, when she realized she'd thrown away something genuine. That was when she decided to destroy me. Not because she wanted me back, but because she couldn't bear losing control. But deep down, I knew she wasn't finished. Because people like Emily don't stop when they've hurt you. They stop when they've broken you. When your pain becomes their proof of victory. But she underestimated one thing. I might have been quiet, but I wasn't broken. While she was busy spinning lies online, I started pulling at the loose threads of her perfect image, one by one. The week after the article dropped felt like living inside a fog. Every sound seemed distant, every conversation heavy with judgment. My name, once something I was proud of, now felt foreign, tainted. I began avoiding the office, told myself I was working remotely. But really, I couldn't face the stares. The sympathetic ones hurt the most. You can always tell when someone's pretending not to pity you. The board suspended me temporarily pending review. Standard protocol, my lawyer said, but it felt like exile. The company I'd built from late nights and empty bank accounts was now in the hands of people I barely trusted. Alex tried to stay supportive, but even he had changed, cautious, hesitant. "Ryan, I believe you," he said over the phone, "but investors are nervous. You know how rumors spread. We need to be careful." Be careful. That's all anyone said. Not "this is wrong," not "we'll fight it." Just be careful. Like I was the problem now. Silence took over my apartment. No laughter. No background noise, just quiet. Sometimes I'd wake up expecting her name to flash on my phone. Not because I missed her, but because I still couldn't understand how someone I loved could hate me that much. The worst part wasn't losing her. It was losing the version of myself that believed in love, loyalty, and good intentions. One night around 2 a.m., I sat on the floor beside my bed, staring at the velvet bracelet box. I'd taken it when I left, without even realizing it. The bracelet still gleamed under the dim light from outside. For a long time, I just looked at it, not as a memory of her, but as a symbol of everything I'd learned. Something inside me shifted again. I wasn't angry anymore, not even sad, just exhausted. But beneath that exhaustion, there was calm, the kind that comes when there's nothing left to lose. That was the start of my plan. Before things could get better, though, they had to get worse. The next morning, I received an email from my landlord. Someone had called, claiming I was harassing my ex and had anger issues. They were reviewing my lease to determine if I was a threat. I didn't need to guess who made the call. Emily had crossed another line, this time into my personal space. I could imagine her rehearsing her tone, sounding innocent and concerned. "I just want to make sure he's okay. He's been unstable lately." The manipulation was surgical, quiet poison, planted carefully through whispers instead of posts. My lawyer told me the HR review would likely clear me in a few weeks. But a few weeks was all it took to destroy everything. The stress started to take a physical toll. Migraines, nausea, constant pressure in my chest. Some nights I woke drenched in sweat from dreams I couldn't remember. Then one day, my mom called. She'd seen something online. "Ryan," she said softly, "Honey, what's going on with that girl? People are saying things." "I know what they're saying, Mom," I interrupted. "Well, your aunt sent me screenshots." "Don't believe everything you read." "But I just wanted to ask if it's true." That silence, that hesitation, cut deeper than anything. "Even you don't sound sure," I whispered. "I'm just worried," she said. "Yeah," I sighed. "So am I." When I hung up, I stared at my phone, realizing she hadn't just taken my reputation. She'd stolen people's trust in me, even my own mother's. I started taking long walks at night, through quiet streets and parks, just trying to think. It helped a little, the rhythm of it, the air, the distance. And slowly, I began piecing it together. Emily thrived on two things: image and control. Every move she made was about perception. How people saw her, how they saw me. Truth didn't matter. Attention did. She couldn't stand losing, even if it meant destroying everything in the process. But that gave me an idea. If her reputation was her weapon, then it could also be her weakness. Still, I wasn't ready for revenge. Not yet. I just wanted peace. I wanted to breathe again. So I did what I hadn't done in years. I disconnected, deleted all my social media, changed my number. Told Alex I was stepping away until the review ended. Then I packed a small bag, got in my car, and drove out of the city. 2 hours later, I arrived at a cabin tucked in the hills. The silence there was different, clean, peaceful. Mornings smelled like pine and rain. Nights echoed with the sound of crickets instead of chaos. I'd sit on the porch with a cup of coffee, watching the sky shift colors, listening to the wind. At first, it felt empty, but over time, that emptiness started to feel like recovery, like healing. And that's where everything truly began to change. I started reading again, books I'd once loved but had forgotten. I cooked my own meals for the first time in what felt like forever. I slept deeply, not just rested, but actually slept, something I hadn't done in weeks. I began to write again too, not for the world, not for validation, but for myself. Just thoughts, reflections, small fragments of me I'd buried over the years, trying to keep someone else happy. It felt like rebuilding from ashes, piece by piece, one calm breath at a time. But even peace never lasts uninterrupted. Around 10 days into my quiet retreat, I received an email from Alex. The subject line was short and cold. Need to talk. I opened it, thinking it was another update about the ongoing investigation. Instead, the first line made my stomach tighten. Emily had reached out to the board. Apparently, she'd sent a long, emotional letter to my company's investors, framing herself as a concerned former partner who wanted to expose unethical practices before more people got hurt. She claimed she had evidence that I'd been hiding financial misconduct. None of it was true, but perception doesn't wait for proof. The board froze all my company access until the issue was reviewed. Just like that, I was locked out of the very business I had built from scratch. That was the lowest point. I remember sitting there in my small cabin, rain tapping against the windows, staring at my laptop screen in silence. I wasn't angry anymore. I was numb, stuck in disbelief. I'd given Emily love, stability, and trust, and in return, she had stripped me of everything that mattered. And yet, in that heavy stillness, something unexpected happened. I didn't feel broken. I felt awake. Because when you've lost everything, you finally realize there's nothing left to fear. I closed my laptop and leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. Every ounce of energy I had wasted trying to defend myself suddenly felt meaningless. Emily had taught me something without even realizing it. People believe whatever makes them feel smarter or superior. The truth doesn't matter until it becomes undeniable. And that's exactly what I decided to make it, undeniable. The next morning, I sat down with a notebook and started making a list. A calm, detailed list. Names, dates, documents, screenshots, conversations. The real ones. I recalled every time she'd borrowed my laptop, every cloud folder she'd shared but forgotten to remove me from, every message where she bragged to her friends about teaching me a lesson. I began collecting quietly, not for revenge, not yet, but for clarity, for proof, for the moment when she'd pushed too far, as people like her always do. Because I knew Emily. She couldn't stop herself. She'd keep going until she thought she had won. And that's when I'd be ready. For now, I sat in that cabin, listening to the rain, letting my plan take shape piece by piece in my head. It wasn't born of rage. It came from purpose. This wasn't about destroying her. It was about reclaiming the story she had stolen from me. It's strange how calm revenge feels when it stops being emotional. It becomes cold, quiet, more like precision than chaos. That's where I was, alone, in that mountain cabin, laptop open, notepad beside me, with a single purpose echoing in my mind. Take back control. The first step wasn't about her. It was about me. I needed to rebuild before I could fight back. My reputation was bleeding, my company frozen, and my name had been reduced to gossip and rumors. But I still had something she didn't: proof and patience. I started documenting everything. Every lie she posted, every fake quote from anonymous sources, every screenshot that didn't match up. I had already backed up our old messages before I left, and as I reread them, I began noticing things I had missed before. Patterns, timestamps, inconsistencies. Then I found it. A set of texts she'd sent to her friend, bragging about fabricating the perfect receipts to make me look like the villain. She hadn't deleted the cloud backup. It was still there. The same night she had posted her first piece of evidence against me, she'd written, "It's hilarious how easy it is. If he wants to play the victim, fine. Let's see how his company handles a little PR nightmare." I read that line again and again. It felt like a switch had flipped in my mind. The guilt, heartbreak, and helplessness, all of it disappeared. If she wanted to play dirty, I'd play smart. I called my lawyer, Clara, a friend from college. I told her everything. The fake screenshots, the false harassment claims, the online smear campaign. When I finished, she was silent for a moment, and then said, "Ryan, this is a defamation case waiting to happen. You have her cornered." "I don't want a lawsuit," I replied. "Not yet. I want her to feel it before it ever reaches a courtroom." Clara paused. "So what's your plan?" "Reputation for reputation," I said quietly, "but done right." Over the next few weeks, I began reaching out to the people who truly mattered. Investors, clients, colleagues who had distanced themselves. I didn't beg them to believe me. I just showed them the facts. The messages, the doctored images, the timestamps that proved her claims were fabricated. Their reactions were all the same. First shock, then guilt. Mark, a major client who'd almost cut ties, called personally to apologize. "Ryan, I'm so sorry. This is unbelievable." Then Alex, my co-founder, called. "The board reviewed everything. They reinstated your access. The investors are furious at her for trying to manipulate them. They want you back as CEO." For the first time in months, I felt relief. Not because I'd won, but because I'd regained control. But that was only the beginning. I knew Emily couldn't stand losing attention. People like her feed on it. The moment she sensed it slipping, she'd act out. And she did, right on cue. About a week after I was reinstated, she posted a cryptic Instagram story. Black background, white text. "When narcissists realize their games don't work, they play the victim." Then a teary selfie captioned, "Healing from manipulation." The comments poured in. Sympathy, validation. She basked in it, but I didn't respond. I just waited. 2 days later, a journalist reached out to her. Someone who wrote emotional exposés about relationships. He offered to share her side of the story. She eagerly agreed, repeating her same lies and adding new ones, claiming I had stolen her work ideas and emotionally used her. What she didn't know was that the journalist was a friend of mine. Not close, but close enough. When the article was published, it looked sympathetic, until readers noticed the contradictions. One viral comment read, "Funny how her evidence uses the same app font. The timestamps don't even match." Another wrote, "Isn't that the same bracelet she called fake?" Then everything turned. The internet started connecting the dots. Someone uncovered her group chat screenshots where she bragged about fabricating evidence. Her followers shifted from support to suspicion. "Didn't you say he cheated? But now he's controlling? You threw that bracelet away. Why are you still wearing it?" She tried to defend herself with long captions about toxic exes and online hate, but every post made things worse. Screenshots of her contradictions spread faster than any of her lies. Meanwhile, I focused on rebuilding. The company recovered stronger than before. Investors stood by me, partly from guilt, partly from respect. Clients returned. New partnerships came in. Ironically, being falsely accused had made people admire my resilience. Still, I wasn't finished. That bracelet, the one she'd mocked as fake, had started it all. I knew what to do with it. I donated it to a charity auction supporting survivors of abuse. The organizers loved the symbolism. A rejected gift turned into hope for others. They promoted it widely. Soon, a headline appeared. Tech entrepreneur donates $20,000 bracelet to help women rebuild after toxic relationships. The photo attached showed the same bracelet she'd once ridiculed. Within hours, people recognized it. The comments were brutal. "Isn't that Emily's bracelet?" Poetic justice. That was the last time she posted anything online. Silence replaced her drama. A week later, an anonymous Twitter thread appeared. Detailed evidence, voice notes, screenshots, exposing her lies. It wasn't me. Someone else had compiled it, someone tired of her manipulation. When I saw it trending, I smiled. Not because she was ruined, but because I hadn't done a thing. She had built her own downfall. Months later, I went back to the restaurant where I'd once given her that bracelet. I sat at the same table, ordered the same wine. While paying, I heard a voice, soft, uncertain. "Ryan." I turned. It was Emily. She looked thinner, drained. "I didn't expect to see you here," she said quietly. "Neither did I." "I heard about the auction," she murmured. "That was thoughtful. Thanks." She hesitated. "I didn't mean for things to go that far. I thought if I could control the story, it would hurt less." "It usually doesn't," I said. For a moment, I saw the woman I once loved, but that version was gone. As I stood to leave, she whispered, "Do you ever think about what we could have been?" "Yeah," I said softly, "but we weren't." And I walked away. That night, I realized revenge isn't about watching someone fall. It's about rising so high they can't reach you anymore. For the first time in years, I felt free. The fallout that followed was slow, quiet, almost invisible at first. Over time, her sponsorships vanished. Brands stopped tagging her. Podcasts deleted her episodes. Questions appeared in her comments. "What happened? Why did the brand drop you?" She tried to fight back with emotional captions about bullying, but people stopped buying it. Eventually, she deleted everything. Months passed. Occasionally, I'd get an email from new addresses, always vague, always circling guilt. "I'm sorry for how it ended. Period. I was young. I hope you're happy." I never replied, but I did forgive her, not in words, but in the way you forgive a storm for flooding your house. You don't excuse it. You just rebuild stronger. And I did. My company not only survived, it flourished. I created a mentorship program for young entrepreneurs, focusing on integrity, mental health, and resilience. It wasn't branding. It was healing, disguised as leadership. People respected it. I began speaking at events, sharing not just my business story, but lessons about trust and quiet strength. A year later, Alex called. "You should see this," he said, sending me a link. It was a small local news article. Former influencer Emily Hale, sentenced for defamation and falsifying evidence. She had tried the same stunt with another man. He'd taken her to court, and she'd lost. Community service, probation, public humiliation. Her name, once polished and adored, now meant deceit. I sat in silence. Not happy, not proud, just still. Because that was her true punishment. Not the sentence, but the loss of credibility. A week later, she sent one last email. "I told the truth. To everyone. You didn't deserve what I did. I just wanted control. You were good to me. Better than I said. I'm sorry." I didn't reply, but I printed it and kept it, next to the photo from the charity auction, captioned, "From pain to purpose." Months later, I visited Napa Valley again, the place where she once used our photo to start the rumors. The sun was setting, the air warm and quiet. I stood where we'd once watched the horizon together. Back then, she'd said, "You're too good for this world." I'd taken it as a compliment. Now I understood she meant, "You're too kind to see what's coming." That night, I met Alex for dinner. We talked about life, the company, everything that had happened. He raised a glass and said, "Most people would have tried to destroy her. You just walked away." I smiled. She destroyed herself. I just stopped helping her do it. He laughed. "That bracelet story, it's going down in company legend." Later that night, back in my hotel room, I opened the balcony door and listened to the wind. I felt the same peace I'd found months ago in that cabin. Quiet, steady, real. No anger, no need for revenge, just peace earned the hard way. Weeks later, a journalist reached out about a book on digital defamation. He wanted to include my story, not as tragedy, but as an example of recovery. I said yes. When the book was released, the chapter was titled "The Man Who Let Go of the Match." It described how I stayed silent, rebuilt, and let the truth rise on its own. That chapter went viral, quoted across podcasts and panels. And every time someone mentioned it, I felt that same calm pride. Not for winning, but for surviving without losing myself. Because in the end, that's what Emily never understood. You can't destroy someone who's already chosen peace over power. The last time I ever saw her was by chance. She walked out of a cafe as I was passing by. She looked older, not by age, but by spirit. She saw me and smiled faintly. "Hey," she said. "Hey," I replied. "You look happy," she said quietly. "I am," I told her. She nodded, wanting to say more, but didn't. She just walked away. No drama, no closure speech, just quiet. The kind of silence that finally means it's over. As she disappeared into the crowd, I felt a final peace settle inside me. Like closing a chapter for good. I walked the other way, not to leave her behind, but because I already had. In the end, she lost what she valued most: her image, her control, her audience. And I gained what I hadn't known I was missing: myself. That bracelet had once symbolized love, dismissed as fake. But the truth was, it had always been real. She just couldn't see value in something without a price tag. And me? I finally learned the quiet power of walking away. Not as surrender, but as victory. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't revenge at all.